Hey, what's up everyone? Alex here. So back with another episode of opening videos. Today's gonna be a hundredth and second opening that I like to share with you, which is the snake opening. So with the snake opening, it's actually like a new kind of main branch of openings that we're gonna be looking at for black against diagonal opening. So hopefully it's gonna be an interesting one. So let's run through the sequence quickly with the typical F5 start off to the diagonal opening, and then followed by the usual cross back into the center, and of course setting up the diagonal opening. So of course with snake, after we've covered Heath and kind of like from inside flowing more of a anti-clockwise manner all the way to the outside move, today we're going to be talking about the snake opening, which starts off with this F7 move over here after the diagonal shape has been considered. F7 move being kind of like a one disc horizontal or vertical chip off, basically depending on the orientation of the board. So this is essentially the snake opening. So one of the special features of the snake opening is that it kind of leads up to the edge pretty quickly, similar to Heath. So you get a lot of edge play out in the mid game, but at the same time, a lot of checkerboard sequences. So over here, White has a couple of options. One being the most standard one at E3 over here, and of course another one being over here at F3, and you also have one that is more compact in F4. So we'll just quickly talk about the most common one being E3 over here. So this one is one of the most standard counter that you would see. And then over here, basically it's the usual kind of cutoff sequence. And then White typically just kind of jumps in, and then this would be kind of like the main sequence of snake opening. So I would say it's fairly even at this point, but there's a lot of variations that Black could consider. So this is so the next couple of openings we'll cover a couple of variations that you can move on from here, and also certain other main branch of variations. So this is probably one of the main most common book openings, which is Mamushi, and then over here, you can just choose to kind of cut into the center, black, allowing white to kind of counter back here. Or you could even consider this move, or even this move. So a lot of options that you can play as a black snake opening. So let's quickly talk about maybe something that is the most common. So over here, when black plays this, white has the option to just cut back, kind of maintaining this checkerboard or line control position, whereby black doesn't have any access across this mini diagonal, and at the same time, offer an opportunity to kind of regroup back and kind of ditch this disc. So over here, black has a few options. Black can choose to just take one disc over here to the bottom. Black can even choose to play a checkerboard. So this would be like a checkerboard opening. So over here, you can see it's a checkerboard because black controls this horizontal row. There isn't any nice way that white can kind of like cut through. And black also controls this mini diagonal over here through c4 all the way to g7. There isn't a nice way for white to kind of regroup over here. And at the same time, this horizontal row is also controlled by black. So there's no way white can play any this over here. They kind of nicely regroup or nestle. So ironically, over here the best move for white is actually, one of the best moves at least, is to actually play a loud move that flips 3 discs in 3 different directions, attempting to try to regroup, establish itself in the key diagonals or horizontals, so that it can obtain some of the access that it requires to kind of like gain tempo. So over here, the typical response is for black to just play one disc, so it's completely, very simple and straightforward sequence for black. So I think the strength of this is that it's super easy for black to play and continue, but at the same time, I think most white diagonal players would already have prepared or understand this particular sequence for snake. So I would say this particular main sequence, it's probably some sequence that you might want to play against somebody that you probably have lesser confidence in per se. So maybe you can try to establish or keep the sequence as deep into the book as possible, so that you stand a little bit more chance in getting a significant number of discs towards the end game, and you can probably try to hold off until the end, so that you don't lose by a huge margin. So over here, black can choose to play this move, or black can choose to play this move, perhaps just a quiet cut, or even black could play at b4. So I think a couple of playable sequences over here for black. So the strength is that black has a lot of options. At the same time, the off side of this thing is that white will probably know most of the sequences, at least from this main branch. So yeah, you can probably consider this if you want to go deep into the opening with your opponent, and hopefully you like this opening and it works out for your game. So you can probably study it a little bit on the software, compare it and run through a few sequences, try it on your real-time games and then see whether it works for you. So thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you at the next one. Goodbye.